of the Legacy Tour Huntsville. My name is Zachary Cook. I'm your host. I'm joined yet again by my co-host, Lane Fox.
Hey, how's it going?
It's been a wild day, and we have narrowed it down to just 8 players.
Yeah.
We're going to be featuring Drake Sasser, winner of Legacy Huntsville Tour number 2, I believe it was, on his Miracles deck. He loves the deck. He always plays it, and he's good at it. Yep. He's playing against Kevin Wallner on Aluren, a deck we featured earlier in this tournament. We're going to get things kicking off right away here. Drake has played a Scalding Tarn. It appears he was on the play. I believe Drake is came into this as the 3 seed, maybe the 4 seed. So he has the option of playing with the new play draw modified rule. And Kevin, being I guess that makes him the 6 seed or possibly the 5 seed, is on the draw. Both players developing mana bases and not much else. So this is probably, in my opinion, a pretty slow matchup. I mean, Miracles is a slow deck to begin with, and I don't think Kevin needs to be in any rush to force his combo out or anything like that. He's got all the pieces to go long, to go late, and he has a combo kill whenever he thinks he's ready or he thinks he's got it set up. So.
Yeah, and I don't like that Aluren is such an expensive combo piece in this format because like Drake does have ways to interact with it. But something I do like is the fact that certain cards like Counterbalance they're not as positioned as good against Kevin's deck as they would be on other decks because he does kind of have a little bit of a higher curve as well.
Right, a 4-mana combo piece is a lot harder to stop with Counterbalance than like Storm, say, where everything costs primarily 1 and 2 mana.
Yeah, and you got a lot of 3 casting cost spells, and also he has a lot of ways to interact with what Drake's doing. He has Abrupt Decay, which is always really great.
Yeah, that alone is going to deal with a lot of your problems. Looks like Kevin has a Cabal Therapy?
Yeah. Drake's going to go hide something, probably.
Sure. If nothing else, you want to diversify your hand so that it's all one-ofs in case they do name it in the blind. I assume at this point Kevin's name has got to be well, it can't be Sensei's Divining Top because Drake would have definitely played it. It looks like it was Jace the Mind Sculptor. Is that what he discarded? Yeah, I think that's what it is. So Kevin's only going after the win cons because he can. Well, and that makes sense. He has Abrupt Decays to deal with Counterbalance, which you see Drake has in his hand now, and none of the other spells really matter that much to him. Kevin can get around all of the. He can let him cantrip. He can fight through counter spells. He doesn't want to have to deal with the things that let Drake win the game.
All right, so
there we have a Ponder.
Yeah, I will say that it's also the long game always does favor Miracles too, and Aluren isn't really the fastest deck either. So
no, but it makes up for being slow with having an instant speed kill.
That's
basically. True. So even though he can't come roaring out of the gates and drop Tarmogoyfs and Deathrite Shamans and so. Well, I guess he has Deathrite Shaman, but he can't play Tarmogoyfs at least. He can. Generate a ton of card advantage, just like a Shardless Sultai deck would, and then
I see the agent right there, even.
Yeah, or Shardless Agent, another way to generate a ton of value, and he can do all that value generating into a a combo kill. So it doesn't really matter what pressure he applies early.
Yeah, and I like seeing the Strix there. Oh, and there's a...
Now, Drake set that up with the Brainstorm two turns in advance. Although, it's really not a big deal for Kevin, as he's basically spent 0 cards.
Yeah.
That Shardless Agent cascaded into a Strix, which then replaced itself, so that Terminus is a 0 for 1.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, he can actually do that the entire game and not have to really worry about it.
All right. So I think here...
Man, if you had the Aluren.
Oh, I know. That would be great.
Now, we know Drake has a Force of Will, but it's not too hard to fight around a singleton Force of Will. And a naked Counterbalance is marginally threatening, but not all that much. Oh, there's a second force of will. That makes things a little harder. He's going to have to go through the pair of those in order to get his Aluren resolved if he has one. But
that also tells us Kevin doesn't have the abrupt decay in his hand.
That's true. He probably would have gone for that first, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Snapcaster's going to give us another ponder here.
I couldn't see, actually.
Yeah, Drake is pretty fast with his hands. It can also be a brainstorm, but I suspect he would go for ponder because if he doesn't find a fetch land in that stack, it's pretty bad for him.
Yeah, he's keeping the piles separate, so it's the ponder. And there we go.
He did find a basic land, basic plains. Now, Kevin, I don't know if the viewers noticed here or if you saw it, Lane, but one of Kevin's land drops was a Volras Stronghold.
Yeah, I saw
an old land from the Stronghold set, and it allows Kevin to generate even more value by recursively using his creatures. He can trade them off in combat, and then he can also use them as fodder for his Cabal therapies to flash them back and then just recast them. It's great with cards like Baleful Strix or Shardless Agent.
I'm trying to figure out what Kevin is going to name here on the Deathrite Shaman. Is he eating what did he eat?
I would think you'd go for the Brainstorm.
To eat the Brainstorm?
Since the Ponder's already gone. It looks like Drake has found a second Snapcaster Mage in order
to in response
cast the Brainstorm. Sure. That prevents the life loss on Drake's side, and it also, gets utility out of a card that was going to be exiled otherwise.
Yeah, Drake just may go for the beatdown on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible that an army of 2/1s will get the job done, but I feel like if that's Drake's plan, that Kevin can pretty assuredly find something to fight through them.
Oh, yeah. So let's see where we're going now.
Kevin he's fetching at end of turn. I don't know that he knew what the top card of his library was, but I guess he just wants to thin it out so that it's less likely he draws a land.
Let's see.
Now, all of these players, I think the record required for the cut to this top 8, excuse me, was 3 wins or better. 3-1-1 or better. None of the X and 2s were able to make it. So it was a much tighter top 8 than we've had in some of the past, or tighter top 8 cut, excuse me, than we've had in some of the past Legacy Tour Huntsvilles. But that just speaks to the growth of the tournament. Like as the tournament gets bigger, the record required to make top 8 gets more difficult, and subsequently we're gonna have bigger prizes. We're gonna have fiercer competition, and that's just how it goes. So. I'm impressed. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, and as a newer player, I like seeing the more diverse decks as it grows as well.
It's true. You get a much more diverse metagame when there's a lot of players. Sometimes when a metagame is small, like the number of players is say 15 or less, you can get somewhat inbred or insular with how people sideboard against one another and the sort of deck metagaming type decisions that are made.
Yeah.
But yeah, with a larger with a larger field, you have to be a little more open to a broad spectrum of possible opponents.
Well, and I think some of it will also speak a little bit to players that, hopefully people want to jump in, that there are people that are taking a little bit more of a casual approach even. We're trying to play a deck that they just think's fun, seeing some tier 2s here, I mean, they can very well win, and they can do it in a way that you like winning. Aluren is definitely the road less traveled.
Yeah, and actually, I don't have all of the top 8 deck lists in front of me, but I know local Alabama level 2 judge Brian Guess is on Goblin Charbelcher, which is a very uncommon deck archetype to be playing, but he's managed to top 8 with it. So even a deck that isn't as popular or consistently considered tier 1 can easily make it in a slightly smaller event like this. And if you have a good day or a lucky day, you just get it. That's how it goes.
Yeah, and I think
it's like Drake is countering a brainstorm.
Oh, he is. That's interesting to me.
Seems odd to force a will a brainstorm, but
maybe Drake knows some. Well, he's very seasoned with the deck, so maybe Drake.
Well, he also has a spare 5 mana and apparently nothing else to do with it. So
that's a good point.
Oh, he's not going after the brainstorm. He's going after the Shardless Agent. Maybe he just wants to keep the road clear for the Snapcaster mages.
Yeah. Well, Kevin is at 12, so
that's a 3-turn clock.
Yeah,
it's an ugly clock, but I guess it's
it's a clock nonetheless. And let's see, I don't think Drake. No, he's not playing burn spells or anything like that. It's just straight white.
Yeah, this is your traditional miracle list. He's got his win conditions are a pair of Snapcasters, which he's drawn both of, a pair of Vendilion Clicks, and I don't even know if I'd call these all win conditions. These are more just like creature versions of spells. The real win conditions are the pair of Entreat the Angels and a 3 of Jace the Mind Sculptor, which we saw he lost earlier to a Cabal Therapy.
Yeah, so maybe Drake's just like going to try to push this, and
I mean, you could come up with worse ways to win a game. Oh, and another Shardless Agent. Man, Kevin has all the beats. All the 2-for-1s.
Let's see, what is he?
And another Aluren.
Oh, he's got a Cabal Therapy.
So Kevin knows from the counterbalance reveal that Drake has a second Force of Will. So that's a guaranteed hit. I don't know if he is aware of any of the other cards in Drake's hand since the first Cabal Therapy hit, but he definitely has a Force of Will. And 2 more. So Drake, I'm not entirely sure. The last card in his hand must be more valuable than the Force of Wills because he opted to pitch both of them to counter the Cabal Therapy, presumably to keep the last card in hand a secret, which I guess is a counterbalance. Because if Kevin were to name Force of Will, he would have gotten both of those cards anyway, and Kevin would then find out about the counterbalance early. So
yeah. And it does look like Drake's on the beatdown.
Yeah, he opted to block and trade with his with his Shardless Agent. I mean, and now Kevin is casting a Thoughtseize into an empty hand.
Oh, there must be
a misplay.
Yeah,
perhaps he didn't realize.
Yeah, I think he didn't. I was about to say I didn't.
Kevin getting a little too sloppy with his speedy mechanics instead of because there wouldn't be much reason to do that otherwise. Although, I suppose it's possible that, although Drake's not going to fall for this, that Kevin is baiting Drake to see what the top card of his library is. Because Counterbalance is an optional trigger. And a less seasoned player might choose to, or might reveal off of the Counterbalance, even though you don't have to, simply because they aren't aware that you don't have to. And then Kevin would know if the coast is clear for Imperial Recruiter without having to use his Abrupt Decay to do it.
That's a very good point. I didn't think about that either.
I mean, I might be next leveling myself and giving Kevin too much credit, but I would like to think that Kevin got to the top 8 by being a sharper tool, or a little sharper than the average tool.
Yeah. But I mean, but it could be just at the same time, he just thought that Drake had a card in hand and wanted to see if it was clear. I mean, a lot of times, especially because like how Drake's holding his cards right now underneath his hand, sometimes it's hard to see if he has a hand or not. And
right.
He just sort of
sped through the step and didn't even bother to ask. Well, either way.
Well, right now it's difficult too. I get a little on tilt when someone's like beating down on me. You know, you got a guy who's got you at 7 life.
A little anxious, maybe?
Yeah, you get a little anxious. So
now it looks like Kevin is on upkeep using his Volrath Stronghold, probably getting back a Shardless Agent.
Yeah, that seems completely reasonable there.
And here it comes. See, now this is the value train. Drake is out of cards, has no permanents other than lands and a singleton Snapcaster Mage, and Kevin can start to turn the game around by just value generating with his Shardless Agents. And in this case, if he hits something good, like, say, another creature, Deathrite Shaman, that's a perfect creature right now, that it just puts even more pressure on Drake and
also gets Kevin back in this game. Takes a lot of pressure off of him.
Right, yeah, he can use it to gain life by exiling creatures. He doesn't really need the mana at this point. Looks like Kevin is flashback
his Cabal therapy.
Sure, and I don't know what he named, but he missed.
Yeah, so he does, but he does knows to play around a counterspell.
Sure, which is worth noting. I think Kevin is flashing back another Cabal therapy. I guess he's going to take the counterspell from Drake.
I don't know how I feel about that, though.
A little surprised to not see an attack first, at least. Because now Drake is definitely going to attack here.
Yes.
But
maybe Kevin doesn't feel as much pressure now with his life total, knowing that he can get some of the life back just off of the...
I mean, if nothing else, having those creatures in your graveyard is a big benefit because you can you can just use Volrath's Stronghold to reuse them a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, he can get the Shardless Agent again, so...
Drake drew a land, so Kevin knows the coast is clear if he wants to use his Stronghold to try and cascade into something, or it looks like he's taking just a natural draw step here.
I almost would probably go for the Volraths, see if I could get some value off of it, get myself back in this game.
Yeah, because even if all you do is get back an Imperial Recruiter to go find a Baleful Strix, to just chain one creature into the next, you could build an army of 1/1s and 1/2s.
And of course you lose if Drake, flips over a Terminus or something like that, but still you've probably,
I don't even feel like you're losing that much in those cases, because you're really just trading one card for one card.
Yeah, that's true. But I think I don't know.
No, there's the Eternal Witness.
What do you think you name here? I think you go ahead and get back the Agent again.
Well, Agent, yeah, I mean Agent is a solid call because you can cast it this turn. Although, yeah, actually this is what I might have gone for instead because, and I don't even know if I'd be using it against the Snapcaster. Just the fact that you can get it back and hold it, yeah. Because now a Terminus is kind of rough. Well, no, actually, now I take it back. Because Terminus isn't a problem because you lose your Eternal Witness, but you can just get back in Imperial Recruiter with your Stronghold and start it all over again.
Yep. So I feel like Kevin's actually in a pretty good place here.
Indeed. Yeah, the only thing he has to worry about now is Drake naturally drawing an Entreat the Angels. Because having only 5 life and Drake having a ton of mana, Kevin has no recourse against an Entreat. But otherwise, yeah, his position looks really solid. He's finally ground Drake's resources down to just lands. And
he's got some Snapcaster mages that you can eat up with the Deathrite.
Sure, yeah, if he gets worried about his life total.
And but at this point, I almost think you just start going for Drake's life.
Sure. Well, I think he's going to get a Shardless Agent back now, if I had to guess. Because that's just the maximum amount of value he could get out of this.
Yeah, Shardless.
That or an Imperial Recruiter.
Yeah.
Looks like he went with the Recruiter, but same thing. He actually now, if you really wanted, he could tutor up some of the combo pieces just in anticipation of finding an Aluren later.
Well, I mean, and that seems fine too because you don't want to Shardless into an Abrupt Decay.
Now, Drake's draw for the turn was a Vendilion Click, which is actually a nasty clock because Kevin only has 5 life, which means it's two turn clock unless Drake starts using the Deathrite Shaman defensively to gain life. And we don't know what Kevin may have drawn. It could be
another Abrupt Decay.
Could also be a Strix. Oh, or that.
Oh, he's playing the Dreamstalker.
Sure, because he can use this in tandem with Eternal Witness to get back Abrupt Decay.
Wow, that is
once again deal with the creature. Although I feel like yet again I would rather attack and see if Drake's willing to make the trade. If not, you get the 2 damage in. I mean, if Kevin had taken advantage of all of the draw steps he's had, there's a Terminus. If Kevin had taken advantage of all of the draw steps, or I'm sorry, all the attack steps he's had before casting a spell or before bouncing a creature, I feel like Drake would be at least 3 or 4 life lower, which, he's not dead, but it's relevant, especially if it comes down to a super tight clock.
Now, it looks like Kevin opted to do 2 damage to Drake there in lieu of
gaining life.
Gaining life.
Which, I mean,
it's probably still fine. Yeah.
At this point,
if he makes
you
the
can't
angels,
beat an
he
entreat.
lose. Yeah.
So his draw step. Kevin is using Volrath Stronghold in the upkeep. Oh, and there it
that's
is.
really great. Into Strix.
Especially if he hits something else he can get. Well, it's a land, but it was something he could play. Looks like Drake drew a Force of Will, which is doing him nothing here, but you know, it buys him yet another. It negates Kevin's draw step. We'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
He's still going to take some damage, but
yeah. Well, Kevin's on the offense now too, so maybe the two life was very So it looks like that turn. I don't even know where he is right now.
Turn 15.
Divining top.
Yeah, that can really do a number because with Drake finding he has one fetch land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Drake has effectively a look at six unique cards because of the fetch land. So his odds of finding something relevant are pretty high.
Well, Kevin looks like he put would use the Volrath and put another Shardless on top.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I would go to. I mean, he could maybe even cascade into a Recruiter. That would be great.
Well, Recruiter you can't. It has to be less than 3. But
it has to be less than.
So Drake is going to use his Sensei's top in response.
Yeah, I forgot he was 3. But okay, yeah, he's got the.
But now, Kevin has a pretty sizable pile of creatures there. This is now cut down to just a 2-turn clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, it's 7 damage. So if Drake doesn't break the fetch land, he still has 2 turns. But I like Kevin's position. And
Deathrite Shaman, he's got some damage there too. Just aim for the 2.
Yep. Now Drake is drawing a card. Oof. Yeah. See, now that Entreat the Angels is the game then. I think Drake has to break the fetch land here, or he should, because he doesn't want to have one of his angels get Abrupt Decayed. Right. So he's going to do it for 3 angels because if Kevin has an Abrupt Decay, 1 angel isn't lethal, and then he'll die on the crackback. But with 3 angels, that's 12 damage, and Kevin doesn't have but 1 card in hand, so he can't stop all 3 of them. And I think that Drake managed to squeak out a win here.
Yeah, that one was really close.
Although this is another example where if a few more damage had been gotten through earlier, maybe Drake would be I don't know.
Yeah,
it's hard to say. In any event, we're gonna take a second here to talk about one of our featured alterists, Eric Klar at the Klar Bar Studios. Does some fantastic alterations. He's done a bunch for me, and I'm commissioning even more as we speak. He does, just like I said, just fantastic alterations. You can check him out on Facebook at clarbarstudios.com. We got a few of his pieces of work featured here, but there's a whole host of it in his photo albums on Facebook, and just fantastic work. If you're interested in getting some really spectacular alterations done to any of your cards, especially your legacy decks, I know a lot of legacy players like to trick out their decks or get them specialized in some way, make them feel unique. That's a place to go, and we definitely recommend it. On to the sideboards.
All right. Well, I've got Kevin's list over here. I think definitely the Abrupt Decay comes in, as well as the Corrosion Grip.
Sure. Anything to fight Counterbalance.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe even the Swan Song if you want some more counter. I don't know.
Yeah. So the real issues with Drake now is that Drake has some number of hard counters. He has Force of Wills and an actual counter spell, and then Counterbalance. So if Kevin wants to execute the combo kill, he has to be able to deal with both halves of that. So I agree with you. The Abrupt Decay helps deal with the Counterbalance, and he might want like Swan Song and Force of Will of his own to fight counter wars.
And maybe Null Rod as well.
Null Rod's great too because of fighting the Sensei's Dimming Top, which is what makes Counterbalance good. I don't know what he takes out. Arguably, you take out some of the non-essential combo pieces. So like a Singleton Dreamstalker is probably unnecessary. You probably don't need all of the recruiters, although it does help with executing your combo.
Yeah. I don't know.
You might even be able to shave a land. I'm not sure how. I'm not super familiar with sideboarding in Aluren, but
Yeah. I don't know. How does the cabal therapy feel right here? I mean,
actually, the hand disruption could be a good call too,
Yeah, if you
because
hand it
you're
early.
both going to end up hellbent, or well, Miracles is going to end up hellbent for sure at some
Mhm.
point. So you probably don't need to strip their hand, especially if you're bringing in more disruption for the cards that you would probably therapy anyway.
That's true.
Over on Drake's side, he has a Keranos, God of Storms, which that's defensible. I don't think Kevin can deal with it if Drake gets into a position where he's dragging the game out and just trying to, to just maintain. Keranos is a good win condition. Obviously, the wear tears are great because Aluren's the combo win, so you'd like to have that, and it actually combines really well because in addition to Aluren, Kevin has Sylvan Libraries and artifact creatures in Baleful Strix and Starless Agents, so he just has a million targets for it. So that's definitely coming in. Rest in Peace is defensible because Kevin is so reliant on the combination of Deathrite Shaman and Volrath Stronghold that he can really stall him there. The Pyroblasts, I think those are decent. Kevin's main defense post board will likely be blue cards, and his combo is all blue cards. So Pyroblast deals with all of the problems there. I don't know so much about the rest here. Baneslayer Angel seems superfluous, especially when you have Keranos, which is probably better in this situation. I think Baneslayer Angel is a much better card against decks like Temur Delver. Something that just absolutely cannot deal with it. Flusterstorm is good at winning counter wars, but I think Drake already has the upper hand on the counter wars, and Force of Will is a hard counter against Aluren, which is better. Containment Priest isn't for this matchup. I think that's for Reanimator and Elves and so on. And then Is It Staticaster and Supreme Verdict are just weaker or more specific or case-specific versions of Terminus, which we've already seen is marginal at best against a deck like Aluren. So I don't expect to see any of those. More of the first half of his sideboard, and honestly, I think the cards he wants to take out are the creatures. Maybe that they really don't do much in this matchup. Kevin, he can't fight a creature war with Kevin. Like Vendilion Click and Snapcaster Mage just aren't. I mean, Click you can defend keeping in because it deals with it can deal with Aluren before it gets cast, but it's not going to win any of these creature fights. Kevin's just so much better at that. And Snapcaster Mage, it's arguably, especially if you bring in Rest in Peace, you don't need Snapcaster Mage because you're at the point where you're trying to fight the yard proactively anyway. That I just feel like he's weak. Well, actually, Snapcaster Mage is also very weak against Deathrite Shaman. So,
well, I also think Kevin missed his scry there as well. I think.
Well, if he's got a fetch land as his turn one play, maybe he's just skipping it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a good point. So
it's funny. The Vancouver Mulligan is probably most important in Legacy when you're on the draw. Like there's of all the formats, Legacy you benefit the most from it on the draw, and on the play it means almost nothing in I'd say 90% of your games.
That's a good point. Just because there's so many fetches.
Right. You have so many fetch lands and it just can't help you as much. But like I said, on the draw it's incredible in Legacy. You just really fixes an otherwise shaky hand.
Yeah, well, I mean, it may help me with some of the crazy ideas I wanna move forward with in Legacy.
Are you doing some brewing? Are you thinking of something?
I'm gonna do some brewing.
What's on your mind, Lane? Tell us about it.
I am going to horribly build the Caleb Durward Eldrazi deck. I mean, I'm just gonna play.
Since Modern has made such a splash, you're going to try and move forward. Well, tell me about it. I don't actually know much about the deck.
It's Eye of Ugin, it's Eldrazi Temple, it's Ancient Tomb, it's City of Traders, it's...
Oh, so you've got basically, 6 Sol lands?
Yeah, pretty much.
And is it the same pile of creatures like in Modern? Like, are you using Oblivion Sower and... What's the Blight Herder?
You're doing Thought. You've got a little bit of a lower curve. You're using Thought Not Seer.
Oh, that's the new Vendilion Click.
Yeah, and it just looks fun. I think that it's playing Mimic. You're also playing Mox Diamonds and.
Oh wow, this deck is really looking to power some stuff out.
Yeah, you're just trying to get in there ahead of everyone, but you don't get Abrupt Decay. You don't get bolted. Okay. So hey, and just playing a bunch of big dudes.
Yeah, I haven't seen the list. Now does it do the processor mechanic, or is it more just
It's not really using processing as much. It's just trying to play big guys. I mean, you're playing Reality Smasher as well,
Oh, the 5-mana 5/5 with haste and trample?
Yeah, I've had to turn to Reality Smasher in some playtesting. So
boy, that's brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So we'll see, I mean.
So that involves a Mox Diamond and a pair of Sol lands?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's not unthinkable when you can have up to, 16 Sol lands?
Yep. So yeah, it's I mean, I know it's a little nuts, but
Now, does a deck like this run any of the other traditional Sol land hate pieces? Like, are you using Trinisphere, for instance?
Yes, actually, you are.
Trinisphere and maybe Chalice of the Void. Any of those cards?
Chalice and Trinisphere you play those as well, and so it's kind of like a little bit of mud,
So I was to say, is this a better mud?
It might be a quicker mud,
Because one of mud's biggest problems is that it can find the hate early and then stalls out and isn't able to play any of its big threats. And this sounds like it would have an easier time because the creatures are a little cheaper inherently. They're just 4 and 5 mana instead of 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm. And then it's got a little bit of black splash in there, so you got a little bit of hand disruptions.
Oh, so you can run like Thoughtseize
or and you can tap your Iovugan for 3 mana instead.
Sure.
So.
Oh, right, with Urborg.
Yeah, because it's a swamp.
Oh, I mean, like most of those sort of all-in anti-blue strategies in a lot of ways, it's going to have some hands that are just utterly abysmal, but there are probably games where you draw just incredible and are pretty much guaranteed to win.
Yeah, it'll be fun nonetheless. So what
that's interesting. Are you thinking maybe you'll run it at the next Legacy Tour? Are you going to come out?
I'm putting together the pieces. And I think that's probably what I'll bring if so. And
you'll be the only deck at the tournament that's proxying standard cards instead of dual lands.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I can proxy those if I don't get everything. So
now I'd like to note to our viewers, for anybody watching who's thinking about coming next time, there's an increase in the entry fee price for the Legacy Tour on Spill. It's going up to $15, so don't forget that. And the number of allowable proxies, or as Wizards has clarified now, playtest cards, has been decreased from 10 down to just 6. So if you've come to previous ones, or if you're planning to come to this one, be aware the playtest / proxy card limit is down to 6. And this is primarily in an effort to foster more completion of decks. We want people to finish them out, we whet their appetite, we show them what Legacy is and what it's like and what you can do, and now, do everyone a favor and buy in.
Yeah.
Finish it off.
And the stores here locally are really kind of giving us the singles that we need to. I mean, the Deep has good cards, JC's has good cards, and if you let them know ahead of time, a lot of times they can just pick up the cards that you need as well if you're not, wanting to shop online. So, yeah. So there's no reason that, there are reasons. I mean, I know there are financial reasons, but I mean, I feel like people should be building towards it, especially now that we have an outlet for people to play at. So
anyway, if you're interested, check it out. And like I said, remember, you get 6 proxies and it's only a $15 entry. So
yeah, it's always been a lot of fun. It's fun doing these videos and seeing these decks. Drake is just...
Anyway, heading back down to the match.
Sorry,
what are we at here?
Drake's going a little crazy with his Divining Top, yeah.
Looks like he cast a Ponder and a Brainstorm. Did he spin the top also?
Yeah.
Jeez, he's just digging for something. Doesn't look like he's missed a land drop, so I don't know what is so imperative, but there's a lot of cards being burnt through.
Yeah. Looks like Kevin did, though.
Ooh, Kevin is behind 2 land drops, presumably, since he would have been on the play.
Oh, yeah.
Although maybe this Sylvan Library can help out with that. Sylvan Library is a great card against a deck like Miracles where they don't apply a lot of pressure. So he's going to take 1 extra card, which I hope means he's found a land, because at this point, once Miracles gets to 4 lands, you have to start getting worried. That's when Jace shows up. That's when Entreat starts getting good. You can get 2 to 3 Angels.
I'm wondering what's coming in here. Now, if I'm correct, Swansong doesn't hit planeswalkers, it doesn't hit creatures, right?
I think it's instant, sorcery, and enchantment.
Yes. So So Swansong isn't going to help there if he's got the Jace in hand, and I wouldn't think Kevin brings in the Force of Will. Especially after such a good Shardless impression he did the last game.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay if you want to fight a counter war or try and fight stage a small counter war just to make Aluren resolve. The thing is, post board, you know Drake's going to have non counterspell answers to Aluren, or most Miracle decks would. So it's hard to get in too much of a fight over your Aluren if they can just wear tear it the following turn.
Looks like he brought it. Is that the Recruiter?
Yeah, he's hard cast Imperial Recruiter, and he's probably, if I had to guess, he's going to get Eternal Witness because he's been missing land drops, and he wants to guarantee he doesn't miss any more. Yep, there it is. It's also just one of the best value cards to pick up with your Imperial Recruiter because it's another 2-for-1, and it's a guaranteed draw. But Drake has a good board presence at this point. The Sensei's top will fix all of his draws pretty well, and he's already up to 4 mana.
Oh yeah, the top just kind of always puts you in that situation too that you never really feel too pressured by creatures. Just being able to find that turn is so easy.
Yeah, or the Swords of Plowshares. Yeah, you're right.
So I feel like with Kevin, it's like he's going to have to go for the combo or bust and see if he can kind of fight his way through this. I don't think he can pressure Drake enough.
Well, at least not how slow his start has been. Although, again, if Miracles doesn't find a Entreat or a Jace early, which that's really their limited number of threats, and there's only the 5 of them combined, they spend a lot of time just waiting. Otherwise, and a deck like Aluren or a Shardless deck can take advantage of that pretty well. If you don't apply fast pressure, it's not as big a deal because you'll apply long-term pressure. There's a wear tear, which that's a bummer for Kevin because he's already a little behind.
Yeah, and that's really painful.
The Rest in Peace is also good when he knows that Kevin just picked up an Eternal Witness with that Imperial Recruiter.
Yeah.
Drake has really had all the hits this game.
Yeah, no Volgraph shenanigans in this game.
No,
Volgraph did a lot of work last game.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I feel like Rest in Peace is good against this deck. It's not a graveyard deck, but it definitely makes utilization of the graveyard as a resource pretty heavily in a lot of scenarios. And the Miracles deck is well equipped to deal with the other aspects of Aluren. It's just if you're gonna have a ton of graveyard recursion, it seems worthwhile to bring in some hate.
Yeah, even like. To a lesser degree, you're playing a lot of creatures. If you're not beating them down with the creatures, you got fodder for more Cabal therapy.
Sure.
To just start ripping up your hand.
Yeah, and Miracles is, like I said before, is a deck that naturally sort of hellbends itself. But in this case, because Kevin hasn't put a lot of pressure on, Drake still has a lot of cards in hand and presumably a lot of action to go with it.
Yeah, Drake's hand is.
Can't really get a good look at his hand. It moves around a little too quick, but. But he has a lot of cards anyway.
I feel like in Drake's deck, the top card or the top 3 cards are just an extension of his hand most of the time anyway.
That's what top does. You're basically trading a little bit of tempo for a lot of card selection. So, and I'm sure that's why the deck as a whole is pretty popular. I think I saw Keranos in Drake's hand.
Oh, that would be
really good in this position. He's ahead on life, he's ahead on board, and a Keranos would really lock things up.
And I think that's what we're going to see. I can't think of any other reason Drake is cracking that fetch.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be much other reason to fetch now.
I'm feeling very safe from Wastelands. We got all the duels out here, too.
Sure, yeah. No, Aluren isn't a deck that can really afford Wastelands. It's already on 4 colors that you can only get so greedy.
Oh, I really don't know what Kevin does here.
We've got an Abrupt Decay on the Rest in Peace, which I guess starts to give Kevin some workarounds. But Keranos, as far as I can tell, Keranos is here to stay, and that's bad for Kevin, especially in the face of an active Sensei's top.
Yeah, in this situation, I'm just trying to think of something that you can do.
Probably not much.
Yeah.
He just has to... Now Kevin is in the position he doesn't want to be. It's apply pressure quickly, which Aluren and those bug-style decks or Sultai-style decks just cannot do.
Yeah, if he had the combo in hand,
Yeah, see, that is his form of fast pressure. The thing is, he hasn't seen any hand disruption, so he can only assume that Drake has counterspells available, and so the counterspells combined with an active Keranos is just, boy, that's almost lights out.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I think I would just jam it because I would know that.
Sure. Yeah.
If you got it, you do. I mean, I would assume he has the counter spells, but if he doesn't, because I don't know what else you do in that situation.
So Drake is revealing a Vendilion Click to his Keranos for the trigger and choosing to target Kevin with it. So he's already going for the damage on Kevin instead of taking out like Deathrite Shaman, for instance.
I agree with that though. It ties up his land a little bit to try to, if he wants to start gaining life.
And Drake has the option of using that Vendilion Click right now, but he might be holding up the mana for something else. Like he has a counter spell or two in his deck. He could wait for that. Plus, it's probably safer to let Kevin play out his spells or play out whatever he's going to do for the turn, and then click at the end of the turn when Kevin may not have mana for an Abrupt Decay, and it just cuts a whole other turn off of Kevin's clock.
That's a very good point.
So you've got
the Imperial Recruiter.
The Imperial Beads, yeah. that one damage is unlikely to matter if Kevin can't muster more of an army than that.
Mm-hmm. See what happens. Looks like he's missing a land drop again, though. I feel like that's been rough for Kevin as well.
This fetch land is rough, too, because it puts Kevin down to 9, which is a 3-turn clock, as opposed to 10, where he had 4 turns. Well, although he knows about the Vendilion Click, so it's really just 2 turns either way, I suppose. So maybe it doesn't matter as much unless he can find a way to answer the click.
Maybe we got like a Shardless here, maybe? And so he wants to keep some land up for...
It looks like a Reclamation Sage. Well, you can't kill Keranos, so I guess you target the top.
Just make them stick it on top if they care about it?
This seems like a terrible card to have to play here, but I guess he has nothing else to do.
I guess it's some pressure, too. I mean, like...
Yeah, it's a creature.
Yeah. And at this point, Drake doesn't want to Terminus away his Keranos.
Oh, I see what's going on
It's not
here.
a creature.
So in response, Kevin is using his Deathrite Shaman to target a land in his graveyard. He was going to try and Abrupt Decay the Sensei's top.
Ah.
But Drake is responding with the Vendilion Click, which I assume is... Yeah, there's the Abrupt Decay. Although there's also an Aluren in his hand and an Imperial Recruiter. So if he doesn't have... He has to have an answer to the Aluren. If he doesn't, he'll lose to the combo. Like, that is just it next turn. Now, let's see.
Did he...
Oh, right. So now the Deathrite Shaman ability resolves. And, excuse me, we may see a spell from Kevin if he drew something he can play. Otherwise, I think it'll just go back to Drake.
So he got rid of the Abrupt Decay?
Right. He took the Abrupt Decay from Kevin's hand, and we don't know what he drew. I feel like that's a little bit of a misplay on Kevin's part. I feel like he could have used the Deathrite Shaman to generate the first point of mana. Then we wouldn't be in this position. As is, now Kevin can't get rid of the Sensei's top. His draw with it was the Cavern Harpy, which I guess he's choosing to play with his spare mana. He'll have to pick up the Deathrite Shaman. So yeah, now Kevin has all but the Parasitic Strix remaining or in his hand. But I feel like it won't matter because we know we're getting a trigger from the Sensei's top, which requires yeah, Kevin's going to pay the life to pick the Cavern Harpy back up. And now Drake will be able to attack through. And Kevin is dead to the board on the following turn. So if Aluren can't resolve, it's just the end of the game, right?
Yeah, 'cause he should be able to set up with that top some damage off of Keranos. So.
Well, if nothing else, you can just draw with the top.
That's true.
So there's almost a guaranteed 6 damage. So you have Kevin. Carpet of Flowers. Oh, see now, Carpet of Flowers will generate a ton of mana because every one of Drake's lands is an island.
Ah, yeah.
So he can go to his second main phase and use the Carpet of Flowers to generate mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 mana, which is pretty brutal. Oh, now Drake has drawn the second Vendilion Click, which can take the Aluren, which takes Kevin's combo out, I suppose. Yep, and that would seal it then. Now, presumably, if Kevin had just gone for the Aluren instead, he would have maybe been able to resolve that.
Yeah, that's where I think I would have just tried to jam it earlier. I think I know he had the Aluren last turn. I don't know how long he had it.
So there's an Eternal Witness, which he can get back in Abrupt Decay and then can he cast it? Sure. I guess he should have. Yeah, he has at least 6 mana floating. Or I guess maybe he doesn't. Does Carpet of Flower make all of mana the same color?
I'm not sure actually. Maybe he just.
I feel like it doesn't matter though. Whatever the mana situation was, Drake now has lethal between the flyers and the so that'll do it. Kevin succumbs to the Keranos, and Drake wins this match 2-0 and moves on to the semifinals.
Yep. Well, you called it. It was the Keranos that made the difference. So.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin not having an answer to Keranos certainly makes it a problem. It's an inevitable win, which is something that Drake wouldn't have in Game 1, but he definitely had that time around. So, anyway, stick around, and we'll be back with the semifinals in just a bit.